Quail log, April 15th. So I guess I should have waited another 5 minutes and I would have got to see the first baby hatching, all because it happened within about 5 minutes of finishing up the video and heading up to the house. Luckily we were watching I brought up the camera as soon as I got up to the house and was able to actually see at least the second baby born, and which was the funny part was the one that was born was an egg we weren't even really watching. So, but I can see as in the reflection and in the side of the incubator that I was leaving as it started pipping through, and shortly after it popped right out. So, in the time it took me to get up to the house and get set down, we had our first baby. My wife came down to watch them for a little bit longer, or to come actually get a picture of it up close. And while she was down here, the wiggler that had been going all day finally pipped, and a few minutes later was out too. So I came down shortly after that and was able to watch the next 2 or 3 come out, and over the next hour or so we probably had at least 4 or 6 that were out and up and about, and within a couple hours we had at least 8 to 10 that were out and about. So they definitely, once they started hatching, and I had a lot of them hatching in one right after the other. So that was definitely interesting to watch and see how quickly that they came out, and one kept popping out after another. So since that happened at 9 o'clock last night, we decided we were going to wait until after 8 o'clock tonight to move them into the brooder. I have the brooder set to the same temperature I did yesterday, which is about 37 degrees Celsius, which should be about 100 degrees is Fahrenheit, or at least part of it is going to be that way, because it's only covering 2/3 of the system. So I have the water, or I have 2 watering containers, one and you can see on the camera, another one's in the section next to it, that are both under the heat. And then I put a little bit of food on the at the far end away from the heat, so I figure the ones that have the most energy can make it down to the food tonight. I'll probably move the food to where I have one in each section and tomorrow morning, but I figured the ones that can really get up and moving, I'll let them get to where they can get to the food, but I wanted to make sure the water was near to where they were actually the heat, so that they could easily get to it. So I figure I'm going to have to refill those a lot more. Right now we have 15, I believe is what we counted as we put them into there. So there are at least 15 that hatched, and there are still 10 eggs, or no, 10 or 11 eggs still in the incubator that we put back in, and we'll see what anything happens over the next 24 hours. At least 2 of the eggs that are still in there have red X's on them. One of the ones that we put a red X on, and it was very light, so I think everything that was, if there was anything in it, it has leaked out. So I'm down to the ones that are in here. I do see that I've got at least 2 that seems to have the speg leg. They're not, the legs are all spread out and they're not moving very well. I'm going to see how well they make it over the next couple of days. If after a couple of days they're not, haven't figured out how to walk on the harder floors like this instead of what was in the incubator, I'll probably just have to put those ones down. But I decided I was taking the chance with the first incubator and seeing how well they did. If I only lose 1 or 2 to spay leg egg, then I'm not too upset. And of some of what I had read and seen online, it looked like some people said that after a couple days some of them were able to recover and others will not. So I'm waiting to see what happens from that, and we'll go from there. But so at least that was the interesting part of last night, is right after I finished up is when they all started coming one right after another. We were counting probably 8 to 10 last night when we were before we went to bed, And this morning I was counting in 12 to 14, and so it looks like we had 15 in by the time that we pulled them into the brooder. So we'll see how this is going. I did figure, watching some videos yesterday, one of them recommended flipping this guard here around and hanging it backwards, and to keep the chicks from being able to crawl into it. And so far, when I've seen any of the chicks trying to crawl into the food trays, they're not able to get into it. So that was a nice thing to find out just before I put them into the brooder, is that I could do put them in, or put that backwards and prevent them from getting into the food trays, which I'll probably need after about a week. But for right now, they'll just get the small food trays, and I'm going to keep them from getting into the food trays, so I don't have them running around in there all the time. So that was something I was really happy to find out about just at the last minute before, or actually getting to use the brooder. So that's a really nice thing, is that I can change that around and be able to take advantage of it. So another thing that I really like about Hatching Time and Kimmick, however you say the actual name of the company that makes these. So I'm very happy that Hatching Time brings these in, because so far I really enjoy using these, and I found most of them work really well for what they do. Yeah, it's a little more expensive than if I had built them on my own, but at least this way I know it's something a lot of people use and have found works well for them. So, but now it's to start raising them and see which ones I like and which ones I don't, and see where we go from there. But it is kind of sad watching some of the spay legs in there as they move around, because yeah, a couple of them, it's just really sad the way that leg sits out to the side and doesn't seem to let them walk correctly. So I'll see how they do and how they go after a few days. But as of right now, they're all, or at least all these guys are in the brooder. I did left all the eggs that had not hatched. I put them back into the incubator and plan to leave them for another 24 hours and see where it goes from there. As for these guys, they're not sure what to make of all the noise and everything onto the side. I have heard a little more noise from these guys than their normal. What they do, so it kind of sounds like they're trying to talk to the babies. And the interesting part was once I got them in the brooder, I had a couple of my speckly girls sitting there on the side of the cage and singing to them. So that was definitely something I hadn't really expected to see. So looks like it's going to be a decent egg night. We got 2 from the middle row, but I got 4 yesterday from them, so I'm not too surprised. And it looks like I have 5 from the top row, so almost everyone gave me an egg today, so not too bad. Still nothing from Black, so I've kind of given up on Black, that I don't ever expect any more eggs from her. I just give enough food to keep her alive. I'm not doing much else for her at this point, so we'll see where in 6 weeks, that's 6 to 8 weeks, that's probably going to be the end of Black. But the rest of them are doing well, still producing me eggs, and it looks like I got quite a few fertile eggs from these guys, and we'll see if any more hatch. But still, if I get 15 out of the 27 or 28 that I had, that's, to me, is not bad at all. So that's where I am for tonight. We'll see where the new ones are doing tomorrow, and hopefully we'll give you an update then, and try to record them day by day so I can see how much they grow each day after they have hatched, because I know that everyone says that they almost seem to double in size as every day for the first week or two. So that should be interesting to see, especially considering how small these guys are. But I'm a little worried about this one because it just figured out how to get in the tray. So I guess I'm going to take care of them, and we'll see where I go from there. Thanks. Good night.